Now that we're in the full summer swing, it's a great time to play outside and head to a swimming pool or a lake, but there's some important health tips to remember when spending time around bodies of water. Medical Officer of Health and CEO for Wellington Dufferin Guelph Public Health, Dr. Nicola Mercer, joining me now. And Dr. Mercer, I want to first just start off with what kind of things people need to be aware of when heading to bodies of water.
Yeah, this is a great question. And of course, we all want to get outside and we all want to stay cool. So I'd like to break it into sort of two different age categories. So what we do know is that for young children especially under the age of 5, swimming pools are really your big danger. So if you have children or grandchildren in this age group, we do know tragically every year we have children drown in pools. And so it just takes a minute. So you really have to keep your eyes on them. Now, for adult people over the age, so let's just talk about older children and especially adults and young adults, what we see is that males have a disproportionate risk of drowning. And it's like about 77% of all drownings occur in males. And if we really drill down into the risks that are happening out there are really 3 things that I think we should emphasize. The first is swimming alone or being out on a body of water by yourself. It's at high risk. Number 2 is not wearing a flotation device or a life jacket. And 3, drinking alcohol. So here we have young men drinking alcohol and not wanting to wear a life jacket because it's not cool out on a powerboat. And you really have sort of a recipe for a few disasters happening every summer.
Yeah, so some really important things to kind of remember when you're out on that water. Are there some other differences between the safety around swimming pools versus beaches?
Yeah, well, they're a little bit different because on beaches, the water tends to be shallow as you go in, and sometimes people do take their eye off children. There's always the risk of underwater currents depending on where you go, as well as some people swim in quarries or in bodies of water where there may be a sudden drop-off or an undercurrent or an undertow, and especially that sudden drop-off. So you may think your children are fine in a shallow area, and if they go beyond what's usually a marked area, they may all of a sudden get into trouble. So wherever you are, please keep a safe eye on your children. Remember, swimming alone is really a risk factor. So, discourage your young adult children in your life from swimming alone, drinking, of course, and please, I know it may not feel cool, but wearing a flotation device or a life preserver, life jacket will save your life if you just happen to fall off.
And you're kind of speaking to this here with those kids that are excited to get in the water with those young families. Is there a point where the parents should be kind of watching them more closely and can kind of give them a little more freedom?
Yeah, well, obviously the difference is, can you swim or can you not swim? And it's really surprising the number of children who still do not know how to swim. So if you're a parent or a grandparent of children, please make it one of your top priorities that your children will learn how to swim. There are lots of programs that are available. There are actually programs even for people who can't afford it. Places like the YMCA and other municipalities may have subsidized programs, but it really is important that you see learning to swim as a life skill.
Is there anything people need to watch for, I guess, after they get out of the water? Are there any concerns after you get out of the water?
Well, I think as a parent, sometimes it's just taking your eye off your children, even for a brief period of time. I think for many of them, when we look at the recorded incidents and the things that happen tragically, it's often a parent who's just a little tiny bit distracted. They've just taken their eyes away for a couple minutes. And drowning is a very silent way of children dying because they can slip back in the water, you can turn around, you're drying yourself off, and your child is headed back to the pool or to the body of water. So please just keep a close eye on.
Yeah, very important to keep an eye. I just on my final question here, it's a question I've kind of had all my life. Can I eat before I go swimming, or do I have to wait a certain amount of time?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question, and it's a little bit part myth as well. So really the concept of eating before you go swimming and having cramps, there is some truth in it, but you'd have to eat a lot. I mean, it really isn't, none of us want to eat a big meal and then go out and exercise or jumping around in a pool or on a lake. So there isn't a firm reason, no, that you can't eat some things, but obviously you don't really want to have a large meal and then go out and do vigorous exercise, no matter what that is. And the water is no exception. But for most of us, being by the pool or by the water and having an ice cream or it is not going to be unhealthy or cause you any medical problems.
Perfect. I love ice cream, especially around the swimming pool. That's great to hear. Finally got the answers. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Mercer. Very important tips and being safe around that water this summer.
Thank you.